I actually made a video this morning. I got my drink this morning. I was tired. I'm not a snooze guy. I learned a long time ago. When the alarm goes off, you hit snooze, you're just twice as tired the next time. But sometimes there's nothing you can do. I was tired. I gave it the phone a couple of snoozes and jumped out of bed. Had a shower, shaved, went and got my drink. On my way to the meadows, a couple of people had called me. What's that filly's name? Money's tied up. If you're out there on the fence about the filly, I suspect most, if not all, of those shares will be gone by day's end. There was a gentleman I was talking to yesterday, and he said, he's from Europe, and he said, "Hey, Anthony, just so you know, not only was Eclair AM and Harness AM good, but they have siblings in Sweden," I think he said Sweden, that have been racing very well also. Man, that's a good-looking filly. It is, yes, it is. So, I have no idea where that will end, but I suspect I don't hear anybody complain. When all the shares are gone, they're gone. And she's been up for what? I don't know, 3-4 days now. And sold a lot of shares, but I suspect the majority of them, if not all of them, will be gone today. Just a little FYI. As I said, I was a little tired this morning. Got all the way to the meadows. I was going to do a video, and then I said, well, I already talked about what took place yesterday. You know, we'll talk about the whole day here in a second. I wanted to give people updates, but the two biggest updates of today would be how did the filly qualify and how did Hanger 1 school. Remember, I was shipping them over here to school. Well, where do we start? Let's start with a quick update, a quick run back of yesterday. A little recap. I know we already talked about Kentucky. I did have a couple emails from people, somebody asking what was wrong with Riding the Rodeo and somebody asking what happened with Blue Ventura. So let me unpack both for everybody right now. I will get emails from time to time. I guess some of these updates don't help because I will get updates from time to time from people that obviously don't have time to watch the videos or haven't watched the video or missed a video because it's talked about in the video with respect to Riding the Rodeo. You guys know that there was a pretty good suspicion that we were going to give her a big chunk of time off this summer because I really thought the allergies were going to be a problem. Then she came out and qualified good, and then she raced good, and last night she raced pretty good. Paced 55, fastest she paced in her life, but fizzled to be 6th. Didn't scope that bad. Not that bad at all. So what's the problem? Okay, I'm going to tell you the problem. Well, the first problem would be our expectations towards a filly like her. Very nice filly, and it wasn't that long ago that if you had a filly you paced 54, 55, you were talking gold, maybe Grand Circuit type material as they grow up. Whereas now you just have a horse. So I think the first thing we have to do is recognize that there's probably 20 horses in that division that can pace as fast as her. So where do we race against the least amount of them? That's what we want to find out. I think we stick to Georgian and Grand River for a bit. Race her on the smaller tracks. Even though she's a gigantic filly, and I know she'll get better as the year goes on. I think kind of hiding her away a little bit. You know, a lot of our horses this year, everybody's horses, every stable. You know, I qualified a horse for Ron Burke today, and he's putting a bunch of them up for sale. Every stable has those types of horses, and you can sell them, you can move them, you can turn them out. I would choose for a horse like Riding the Rodeo, who is a nice filly. Just look for that filer under big fish, small pond. Try to find a spot where she can beat up on them, because she can. She is fast enough. She'll pace 53, 54 before the end of the summer. Problem is, you're still going to have those 20 or so that can pace that much with her. So she has to be tougher, stronger, have the right mindset, work ethic, draw good, be healthy, and get a good trip. That's the rest of the summer for Riding the Rodeo. There's nothing wrong with Riding the Rodeo. She raced good last night. We just need to put her in a spot where that particular mile gets your picture taken. And I'm sure there is. With Blue Ventura, you can't just drive Blue Ventura. You have to drive him the way he wants to be driven. Well, I already proved that. Do you guys remember the night I went into the 8 hole and pushed him over the corner and let one remove? No big deal. left 27-3, ended up in the 2-hole, well, unless you're Blue Ventura, in which case you're just going to walk. He lives in a very narrow road, right? You can drive him the way he wants to be driven. You can leave a bit. Mostly he loves helmets. Big fan of helmets. He likes horses that gradually slow down, that are in front of him. He's a big fan of that also. There's nothing wrong with that. He's an okay overnight horse, but you have to drive him that way. I'll put it to you this way. You drive him like he's 6-1 every week, and you'll do fine. If you ever drive him like he's 3-5, you better be 1-5. And that's just how Blue Ventura is. Now, factor in that he had that infection in his leg last week. We had to scratch him, had to clean all that up, couldn't train him super hard. I think that all compiled to, factor in the way he was driven. It's not Aaron's fault, but you have to know the horse. Factor in the way he was driven, the way in which he was coming into the race, a little bit short. I'm not shocked at all how he raced. I only had to look at the line. I was on the plane when he had raced. When I got off the plane, I looked at his line. You didn't even have to show me the last 2 parts of that line. I could have told you exactly what they looked at by looking at the first 4 parts of his line. Start, quarter, half, 3/4. I didn't even need to look at the head of the lane and the mile. I knew exactly what they were going to look like. But you just have to know that about him, right? So he will be tight his next start. I can guarantee you. Like Jason told me, we were talking this morning, he goes, listen, I told Aaron, if he draws good, make sure you take him. He will be very tight for next week. So I suspect you're going to see a different, much better version of Blue Ventura. I suspect you're going to see a much different drive, one that's more palatable to the horse himself. And I think you're going to see a much better result. That's my prediction. Now, when it comes to the other horses, it was a good day. I know we got an IX with Zena, which is good. Dexter's such a professional guy. He never really alluded when he came off the bike that he get hit. He asked about the snake cord in her mouth. He said she's always worn it. You can take it off if you want. But what'll happen is, Zena's a bit of a bulldog. When she gets close to the gate, she gets really up in the rigging, and then when he say go and she settles in, she's mellow. Well, in that time period, I want her to stay and behave. I qualified her. When you watched the qualifier, I went with her. I was on pins and needles coming off the car, and then you fast forward 1 week later, and Mike Wilder went with her, and she was a kitten. He said, this couldn't be any more of a perfect filly. It was his words. I might have paraphrased a bit, but that's pretty much it. Dexter put her in a bit of a tough spot. Andy helped him, but there was a hole there, right? You can't really drive in inches. If you drive in inches, a guy like Dexter's smart enough to know you're going to get yourself in trouble, and I think that's when he went to grab a hold a little bit to let Andy get in, and when he grabbed a hold of her, Zena, the bulldog in her took over, and then she ended up putting herself in a bad spot. That drive yesterday, I like to use baseball and sports analogies, you guys know that. Dexter's drive yesterday would be like an elite hitter chasing a mediocre curveball, right? It happens. Happens to everybody. It's not the end of the world, and as I said also, don't worry. The maiden goes for 16, the consolation goes for 25, and not that she couldn't win both. I think she probably could, but I'm almost positive she'll win a maiden. And Mr. Dunn will probably get his second opportunity to drive, third, counting the scratch, to drive Zena Kemp. Degas is just going to get better and better and better as the year goes on. If we didn't have Jailbird Jog, I'd be like, yeah, we can't beat Vern Beachy's filly or that filly that won the other division. But I'll tell you what, she's going to get better and better and better. What a nice filly she is. I'm going to tell you, as a driver, you couldn't ask for a nicer 2-year-old trotting filly to drive. She does, and trust me when I tell you, she does not one thing wrong. Nothing wrong. And it's certainly not her fault that she can't out-trot that big filly of hers. She's a good-looking filly, too. Another tactical landing like the other one. But we do have Jailbird, and she is a freak. our partners, I told you, messaged me yesterday and said, how was she? I knew what he was asking, or at least I thought I did. I do my best to try not to infer what people are actually asking or thinking when I see a text message or an email. More than a few times, it has resulted in an argument or a misunderstanding. So I told him, I'm friends with him also. And I said, I'm going to assume if you're asking, was she done at the wire? He said, wow, yeah. He said, I'll put it to you this way. She was out of third gear for about 6 pylons in the mile. 3 to clear to the lead, and 3 around the last turn when I started her up, and then I wrapped her back up halfway down the lane. Now, you factor in with Jailbird Jog the fact that I told Eric to go easy for 2 weeks. Do not prepare her for what you would consider a stake race. I don't think she needs to be. She's not a big filly. Your goal is to put weight on her and keep her quiet. And he did a very, very good job. It's always nice, when Harry was on that roll before the year, he probably should have been up for the O'Brien Award for horsemanship. All of our trainers work so hard, but this is a merciless, unforgiving, nasty game sometimes. Now, when things just aren't going right, they can always get worse, and it's really hard for them to get better sometimes. And all you have to do is work hard and hope that the horses come around. That's all you can do. Do what you know is right, and hopefully it pays dividends down the road. And I know that Harry's barn hasn't been red hot all year, but he's still Harry. Still puts the work in, works his butt off, and I'm always happy. I'm always cheering for our trainers because they're good people, right? Eric and Kathy, good people. And Eric wanted to go down to Kentucky probably earlier for Oak Grove, and I told him I wasn't gonna do it. I wasn't going down to get my face smashed in at the start of the year. I didn't feel that we had a deep enough roster in some spots to send horses to Oak Grove. And I didn't trust the track. That's a brand new track down there. It's only a few years old. Nobody's on it all winter. They go to open it up and race on it. It's a beach. Can you imagine sending a horse that looks like money with a past soft tissue damage injury to a hind leg down to that deep track? I just couldn't do it. And Eric just sat there and waited. So I'm very, very happy that him and Kathy got some good horses. And then when we look at, who's going down there, Solidarity's going to go down there. Obviously, he trained good. Hanger 1, we'll talk about him in a second. He trained good. Schooled good today. I don't know about Steady Volo yet. I've asked James to go and school him on Friday. I was going to go over there today and go with him, but I opted to stay here and go with these 2 horses. We'll talk about them in a second. Eric's got 8 stalls down there for Lexington, and they will be full. And you know what? Thanks very much to the people in Lexington also. When I had sent the stall application in, I wasn't clear exactly what I needed, when I needed it. And rather than just file it under, too bad, moron, you should have done it right, they picked the phone up and called me. And they're like, well, you have 5 in Oak Grove, you have other ones coming. How many stalls do you need? Because we could easily fill the place up in an hour, and we want to make sure that everybody gets the stalls they need. I said, I kind of need 8. I'd like to have 10. She goes, well, you're not going to get what you like to have, but I will get you what you need to have, so I'll get you your 8 stalls. And Eric told me today that they had 8 stalls ready for us in Lexington, which was super helpful. Those stalls will be full, I think, this summer, and we're going to have a lot of fun in Kentucky again this year. So great. So happy for Eric. And Mr. Baxter went down yesterday. I was joking with him. He showed up in the winner's circle, and he sent me this email. And there's a lot of you in Canada that think there's some horrible, like the Gestapo is waiting for you at the border, and that just isn't the case. I've heard horror stories of people getting searched or whatever, but I certainly haven't had a problem, and I don't know of anybody firsthand that has told me, no, I went through the border and this would happen. Now, one of our clients went through a couple of days ago, and told me that they did haul him in and kept him there for 10-15 minutes, and then they let him go. And I was joking with him when he came in the winner's circle. He had a tie-dyed shirt on, and I said, well, that's why you got called in right there. But it was nice that he drove 11 hours to watch Jailbird Jog race yesterday, so it doesn't always work that way. I'm glad he didn't drive 5 hours or 6 hours to Columbus on Saturday. It didn't go how we wanted, but certainly went pretty good. yesterday in Kentucky. So Kentucky's going good. Very happy with what I see. I have a lot of people asking me for updates. I'm going to do my best to answer any of the questions that maybe I didn't answer in emails appropriately, or maybe I didn't articulate myself well enough. I'm going to tell everybody the horses that are turned out that we're actually slowing down with. Some of them are coming forward right now, and I want to make sure that I tell everybody this. And well, I guess I'll jump a little bit ahead. We still have Love Sensation jogging in Oak Grove, and the reason being, Eric and Kathy have been working on that lag down. She hit her lag a couple of times, even with the boot on, and caused some swelling, but they both felt that they had it under control. Now, I want to just turn that filly out, maybe bring her back for Corbin. I had a great conversation with Ronnie Burke. Now, I guess just for a moment, we were talking about a number of things. I told him, I said, geez, I'm really sorry to hear about the horse. He goes, listen, he said there was a few minutes where, you think, those voices in your head, you think the horse is going to die, and instead, all he needs is a testicle removed, and he'll be fine in a few weeks. So that's fine. As far as reproduction goes, the experts say it won't be a problem at all, which I was happy to hear, because it looks like he has not one but two. Well, obviously, Sweet Lou has proven that he's a generational sire, and if anybody thinks he wasn't, Blueprint and a number of horses like him should solidify that. Mainstream breeding maybe didn't know or weren't ready or didn't think that Sweet Lou was going to be, but he certainly has been, and Blueprint looks like an exceptional individual in his own right, so he'll make a great addition to there's Amy. Talk about your filly in a second, honey. And he'll make a great addition to the stallion ranks, I'm sure. What a beautiful horse he is. So I told him I was sorry. He said, that's the way it is. He was qualifying a bunch of 2-year-olds that they were going to put up for sale. And, and I talked about some of the other horses. And it was Tim, actually, that I'd said it to in passing. I qualified a filly of his. She has some talent, made a little break. And I said, here's the thing. If your horse isn't a stake horse right now, why are we going with them? And that was more projected inward towards me, in what we have, and what Love Sensation fits with that. We have 3 fillies that are ready to go right now in Kentucky. Love Sensation's this big, beautiful filly. I told you how great her attitude and work ethic was the day that she did make a break. She just hit herself and run. Why not give her the time for her legs to cool out, her body to fill out? And that's what we've done with a number of the horses. ACDC is another horse. I guess I'll get into the updates, and I'll finish with the qualifier in the schooler today then. ACDC is a horse that a nice little horse. Is he going to fill out and be a racehorse? Probably. He just wasn't going to be one right now. So that's why we turned him out. And this is the thing, is that if you're just going to be an overnight maiden on which is 2 horse, why don't we just do that in the fall? Why don't we give you all the time? You can only win that maiden once, maybe twice with money. So what's the rush to get it right now? Win yourself into the numbers of 1, numbers of 2, then turn the horse out just to come back and have to race in the numbers of 3? If you're not going to have some sort of a stake horse right now, I don't mind racing a couple of times, but probably should look towards the field, do them some good. That's exactly what we did with ACDC. Capistrano Nights was a little different. I didn't mind giving her a little time. She seemed a little sore on that left hind, and I think it was just up high. I think she maybe got cast or something. So we just gave her some time. Just turned her out. We'll bring her back in a week or so and see how she is. And I don't see an immense improvement immediately. She's going right back into the field for the next 4 weeks. In New York, happy to report, I sent one small sentence to Jason Merriman today. Is in New York starting out perfectly now, ? 100%. He said, I saw him jog today. His first few steps on the track, he was perfect. The issue was his knees were bothering him a little bit, and I was tempted to turn him out. And I said, it'd be nice to get a couple of starts in the fair or something. And we kicked him out in the field, or we kept jogging him. Didn't train him, just jogged him for 10 days, and he was perfectly fine. So I'll probably train him a slow mile tomorrow, and if he comes out of that slow mile good and jogs good on Thursday, then it'll be off to the races. If he comes out Thursday and he's a little stiff, it'll be off to the field. And that will be one of 2 positions in New York. I only want to race him 3-4 times and kick him out anyway. The horses that are ready to go right now, that's our roster. Those are our horses. The ones that aren't, focus on the fall, right? Let them mature and be the best horse they can and come out in the fall. Because as I said, you can only win the maiden once, and maybe twice with money, but you know what I'm getting at, right? So it doesn't matter whether you do it now or later. Just get it done. And I think your best option is the latter, the later. Who else do we have? Lifting legend. Somebody said, Anthony, why the prospect? I don't know. Probably because he'd get mauled in the grassroots right now at Mohawk. Just Dominic didn't ask. He did it on his own, and I think it was the smartest thing he did. Put the horses in where they can win. There's a million grassroots this year. He can get better in the prospect series and make his way to the grassroots, or just stay in the prospect series. Have a good 2-year-old season in the prospect series, and then hopefully come back out as a 3-year-old and be a better horse. That's the whole plan. I don't want our horses going on the track in positions where they can't win. You know, with Time Is On My Side, it's a perfect example. That's different. When you have a horse that can pace in 48 and he has to race against other horses that can pace in 47, 48, that's different. You do need luck. And a perfect example, I asked Scotty and I meant to talk to him at Oak Grove about it, but we ended up talking about Jailbird Jog and the other horses, how was Lexington going to look. We didn't touch on Time Is On My Side. So I get up this morning, dawned on me, draws at 9 o'clock. If we were going to take him out of the Houghton, I needed to call Megan and say, hey, I don't think we're going to go there, and call Tim and say, hey, by the way, I don't think there's any need to go down there this weekend. There's just no need of it. So rather than, you making your way down there this weekend to train the horse, maybe we'll just take him out and bring him back to the meadows. There's no need to ask anybody to put the horse on a bike and train him up, or jog cart, train him up, just bring him back. So I texted Scotty, I said, and Scotty's a pretty frugal guy, right? He doesn't want to go on the track 1,000,000 to 1. He doesn't want to go on the track and get beat. He has no interest in racing in the Houghton or any other stake race that he cannot win. No one does. So I asked him point blank, what do you think about this weekend? I said, I got to talk to Tim, I got to talk to Megan, we got to figure out what we're doing. He said, well, the Houghton, he said, what's the starting fee? I said, $2,500. He said, honestly, there's a voice inside me saying no. He said, but I'm telling you, man, he's right there. He can get it done. He said, I know I can beat the 4-year-old division with the right trip. The aged horses, I don't know, but I don't think it would hurt him to find out, especially since he knows this is his last start, and then he's going out to the field for 3 weeks, coming back. Tim is going to get him. He's going to take the horse. We're going to race him in the Dayton Derby, the Ewart, and then the Breeders' Crown Elimination and Final, and probably have some opens in between. That's the plan when Time Is On My Side. And I know I've had at least one, if not a couple of clients message me and say, Anthony, can we not pivot away from this Grand Circuit stuff when Time Is On My Side? And I'll tell you again, sometimes it's harder to race good horses than bad ones. That's the reality of it. But I'll always have the argument because I was right. Last year, these were the same types of people that didn't want to race in the Adios, didn't want to race in the Milstein. That's why we have horse races. Ultimately, that's it. Nobody's printing any checks to giving them away to any horses before the race goes. And although it's not my preferred mode of racing, hoping and praying, it's not a very good way to race. When you get to that level, all things being equal, everybody's within 3-4 lengths. Well, that's different, isn't it? I can't control that. And it's not like he's going to come back to the Meadows and be 2-5. They're going 49 every week either. Also, Mohawk, they're going to go 47, 48 every week. So there's no hiding him. It's the middle of the summer. It's time to race. They got me off track. I'm trying to think of what I was saying. Horses that were turned out. Royal Flush Deo, he's just a big giant slob. I don't mean slob as in he's slow. He's got talent. But he's just this big, gangly colt. Just needs time. And I could see it the other day when I went with him. He was trying and then tipped himself over. Just needs a little time. And I think for the horse, well, a horse like him, with the breeding he has and the speed he does have, I think it would be a shame to let him go early. And that's why we didn't. Steady Volo, we'll see how he schools on Friday, and then I'll talk to Daniel. We'll decide where he's going to go. This is Daniel Gordino, owns this horse himself. We had some horses. Now, I don't want to get on this path just yet. This is how I'm going to end this. Hold on. So, AC/DC field, Capistrano Knights part-time field should be back in 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half. Highest honors, Buckeye. Somebody said, when's the next sire stake for him? I said, never, ever. We're going to race in the Buckeye. Nice colt, I want to make sure he stays that way. Don't need to chase horses all year with this horse. In New York, tentatively off the IL right now. He is going to train tomorrow. I'll probably train him a mile and a half, scoot him along a little bit. But most importantly, how's he look on Thursday? That's what I want to know. Leland Hanover, everything is being accelerated. I really didn't think he'd pace 55 right now. I thought it would take another couple of weeks. He's going to be entered for Saturday. Perfection Hanover's in Friday. And some tough customers, it looks like, in there. One's going to mark a 52-4 already on a 7/8. Where would a 7/8 be? Hoosier, I guess. Maybe he's coming in from Mohawk. I'm not sure. Lifting Legend, as I said, going to the Prospect Series. Love Sensations going to the field. Neuromancer, big question marks there. Just mentally, I needed him to turn the page. He's got a couple of hurdles left and he hasn't punched through. Now, they would have been training him hard this week, and I'll get an update from Dominic and from James. But at some point, he too will be off to the races or off to the field, right? Riding the rodeo, I think we talked enough about her. Big girl. Royal Duchess, I just turned her out for a couple of weeks. Her knees were hurting her. There was no remodeling. There was no soreness. There was no chips, no lines, no nothing like that. But they were hurting her a bit. Just maturity. So rather than just working and trying to get her raced, I just want to let them cool down a little bit. We give her a couple of weeks off. We'll probably race her in a couple of fairs and a couple of Buckeyes this year and focus on 2026. I like this filly. I always have. Solidarity. He's got to qualify. I'm not going to be there next Tuesday now, will I? Surely he can qualify. He trained pretty easy. I would like to see the dog chain in his mouth. That's what I'd like to see. Get a little strong in the face. If he keeps this up, I think probably we'll race him 4 or 5 times, and then we'll probably castrate him and turn him out for the fall. In fact, of all the horses we've had since and before, this horse and everything about him might resemble Time Is On My Side more than anybody else. Except for the brakes. He didn't make brakes training down for the most part. But his timeline, his breeding, what he is, what he could be, what he might be, how we might get there, very, very similar. I trained this horse the other day, 55 and piece 56. I told you guys, I think. Very similar to what Time Is On My Side. I think he took a mark of 54-4 as a 2-year-old. Now, obviously, there's some glaring differences. But this would be the closest to that timeline, horse-wise, that I've seen would be Solidarity. Sterling Hanover, he just needs 4 weeks and let that heal. You can't, when it comes to throats, the whole goal is to obviously not get any infection in there and let it cool down on its own, right? You can't force it. There's no apparatus you can use to keep that cool down while you're training. It really just has to be relaxed. So I don't think he does any heavy lifting for another 2 weeks. He's just on walking duty, and I want to ask Dominic. I don't want him in a stall, though. I want him on the walker. So we'll see how he is. Woodmere Bullet raced great. Somebody said he didn't give me much of an update. I didn't see one. Smitty said he raced good. The horse very green, did his work well, and won his first lifetime start. That's, when you hear an update like that, there are people like Anthony. Can you expand that? Not really. I mean, what did you want me to say? What equipment he had on? How he felt after the race? How many carrots he ate? He's a nice horse. He is exactly what you saw is what I saw. Right? Just a nice horse. It's very green and won his first lifetime start. And that's all I got to offer just now. But we can expand moving forward. Same as Woodmere Betcha. I thought she raced better the other day. I was happy with what I saw from Woodmere Betcha closing up to finish third. I know Smitty was worried about the way she'd made some breaks, and he made some shoeing changes with her, and obviously they helped. She looked good. We talked about Blue Ventura. We talked about Time Is On My Side. Save America is off to the Governor's Plate this weekend. I think the horse looks good. Expanding on that topic, we do have a couple of lines in the water, so to speak, with respect to maybe buying one more Gold Cup and Saucer eligible participant. We do. I'm actively pursuing it right now, but I'll let you know more when I need to. Spitfire Overseas, Jason said, trained fantastic today, which is great to hear. He'll be in this weekend. Greatest ending. I'm not going to end with this horse. Just give me 1 second, and you'll see why in a minute. JK Victory raced good the other night. Rock Shining Star just needs a class like that. to get them back, both of them back on track, but I was happy with what I saw from JK Victory. Greatest ending tied up again. Not bad, but he did tie up a little bit. We're checking to see what the level was. We were trying to go as easy as we could and have him ready to go this weekend, but this heat has played a real... Jason, for those of you that have been with us a while, first time I raced in a Little Brown Jug was Atlas Hanover, and Jason's had him for us. Then he bought him and did really well with him last year or the year before, and then they claimed him back off him, and he just got him back. Well, he just checked his blood just to see, and he was very, very tied up. Way more, 4 times as high as Greatest Endings was. And that leads into one other horse that tied up that we're trying to work with and get under control for Friday. Perfect Thought tied up yesterday a little bit. Now, I had sent a note to all my partners on Perfect Thought, and I sent a note to Megan. I said, listen, here's the reality of the situation. We have an extremely talented filly in Perfect Thought. She tied up. She's got the 10 hole going for $25,000 in an 11-horse field. There's 3 legs this week, the week after that. 3 legs, and then a final. She has a long season ahead of her. It barely starts in New Jersey. So, it's quite simple. If she tied up to the point where her levels would indicate she probably shouldn't race, or maybe she's even on the bubble for Friday, I would just burst that bubble and scratch her. And that's simply because we know how good she is. We know how talented she is. There's 3 legs. There's only 1 division tonight anyway. There's 3 legs in a final. If there is any hesitation from yourself or from veterinarian on Friday when you get the blood back with respect to Perfect Thought, that you scratch her. It's not like we have the middle of the gate or the rail going for $1 million. It's a $25,000 race, and there's 3 of them coming up, and they're the ones that started our career. So we don't race. Nobody wants to scratch. I didn't want to scratch Greatest Ending right before he raced 2 weeks ago. He tied up. That is a legitimate, tangible reason to scratch. And Atlas Hanover, with regards to Jason, he just kicked him out of the field. He said, I'll come get him in 3 weeks. Because that's what they need, 2-3 weeks off. So those are the updates so far. I gave you a little recap of Kentucky. I talked about some of the 2-year-olds. Now, if you didn't hear your horse on there, maybe you don't feel that you're up to date, you don't know what's going on, just drop me a line. Email me, text me, call me, whatever you want. I'm always around. So I was tired this morning. I get up, I went to the meadows. I had, Ronnie had asked me to qualify one that he's trying to sell, and nice horse, by the way. I thought the horse qualified well, finished up his mile well. Pretty Eyes and Lies. That is a pretty good line that she got put on her today, but it is not factual. She didn't come 28 flat in the end of it. She come 29 flat in the end of it. I was on front at the 3/4 pole. I was not sitting in the 4 hole as they have me charted, but she did qualify rather good. I was really, really happy with her. Tire blew in the last turn, so 29 flat. Most of that 29 seconds was on a flat tire, so that is accurate, and that's good. I was happy with her in that regard. She did her work much better, and I think we have her back on track in the best kind of way. And then Hanger won 2-3, last half in 59 seconds. He was really good. Now, the only problem I had was there was 3 jog carts on the gate with me, so I didn't really get to train in a group or school in a group. We'll maybe do that next week, but I was very, very happy with what I saw. I had a great conversation with Carter Pinsky yesterday in regards to that family. He has Go Dog Go, and we were just talking about horses. Really nice guy, really knowledgeable guy and a great horseman. And he said that Go Dog Go's feet bothered him too also. It's funny. These guys are a lot alike, and I said, well, I hope they show up the same on the track. That would be great. But Hanger 1 was good this morning also. I will end with a few notes. One note, as I said, if you're on the fence about buying shares in that filly, the Iglariam filly, those shares, I would be surprised if any of them were left tomorrow. I think a big chunk, if not all of them, will be gone. So just FYI, just so you know. And then I think this week's horse on the block will be our girl, My Jazz's Quattro de Julio son. His name is Lou Armstrong. So we'll have some pictures and a video for you also this week. So there you have it. That is a 35-minute update. I was thoroughly pleased with what took place in Kentucky yesterday, and I was very, very happy with what I saw today in Pennsylvania. So other than that, good luck to everybody racing tonight. We got some starters at Georgian Downs. We got our girl, Grand Slam deal, who's in tough today, but we'll see what she can do. Aaron Merriman's going to drive her, and then we have our starters at Georgian Downs. Good luck to everybody today. The rest of the week, I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do and how I'm going to get back to Cooperstown, but I will, mark my words, I will 100% get it done. Take care.